Chapter 17, Wednesday, July 19th. Night was the worst. The darkness closed in like an endless canopy of absolute blackness. With no moon, Luke couldn't even see Charla a few inches away. Ian, what time is it? Came Will's voice from the void. It's 12:30, Luke said irritably. We just checked 2 minutes ago. I don't really care about the time, just wanted to see the light. He was talking about the tiny light on Ian's watch. Every time I fall asleep, I dream that I've gone blind. I need to see something. Try looking at the stars, suggested Ian from the water beside the raft. I can't sleep on my back. Luke was growing impatient. You might have noticed that this isn't the Hilton. Make do. As Will struggled to roll over, he'd kneed Charla in the thigh. Reacting in shock, she elbowed Luke in the ribs, and as he jackknifed in pain, the edge of the raft dipped, dunking Ian underwater. The tiniest move had a ripple effect through the whole group. It was that close and uncomfortable. Sputtering, Ian checked his watch. 12:33, he reported. Do it again, I missed it, said Will. Although the temperature never dropped below 70 degrees, the night felt almost bone chilling after the burning heat of the day. Taking turns in the shark bait position kept the castaways soaked to the skin, and the 6-hour shifts out of the water did little to dry them off. The seas had picked up, and even the smallest wave washed over the cabin top. They had tried again to find an arrangement where all four of them could sit on the raft at the same time. But after repeated dunkings and one real scare, the raft had almost bobbed away. They had decided that 3 riders and 1 shark bait was the only way to go. Secretly, Luke didn't mind his shifts in the water, especially at night. While the air cooled down, the ocean stayed warm. It also provided protection from the wind. In fact, the only problem with shark bait position was exactly what the name implied: sharks dangling there. You were a sitting duck for any sea creature that wanted to take a bite. They had seen fins cutting the surface around the raft, but Ian insisted they were dolphins. A shark fin is larger and more triangular, with a small slot near the bottom. The kid was an endless fountain of information that nobody wanted to hear. Carcharodon, Carcharius, the great white shark, could destroy this raft in a single bite. A real big specimen can swallow a whole person whole. Let me guess, said Will. They did sharks on National Geographic Explorer. Don't knock it, mumbled Luke. Those guys make one heck of a watch. I'm more afraid of the tiger shark, Ian went on seriously. They're pack hunters, and they can go into what's called a feeding frenzy. Enough, interrupted Charla, who was in the shark bait position at the time. I don't want to hear another word about it until you're the one hanging down here like a worm on a hook. With the heat of the second day came thirst. Thirst beyond anything they had experienced before in their lives. It was a familiar feeling at first, like the desire to hit the water fountain after a long, boring class on a steamy June afternoon. But then it transforms into something deeper and stronger. There was no water fountain. There never would be. Their throats burned. Their lips cracked and were bleeding. Charla held the empty rubber hat. Did that show about shipwrecks mention what to do if it doesn't rain? She asked Ian. It'll rain, the boy promised. The other 3 noticed, though, that it was one statement that was with no backup research from television. There was hunger too. They hadn't eaten for a full 48 hours. The hunger mingled with the thirst to produce a never-ending dull ache that gripped each survivor from head to toe. It was a pain that radiated lack of water, lack of food, lack of sleep, and lack of comfort. As the afternoon progressed, a few clouds appeared overhead. The castaways cheered them on as if the Super Bowl were being played out in the sky above them. A cool wind picked up, creating a chop on top of the water. All right, rain, croaked Will. Let's see what you got. We could trap water in the sail and drink it as it runs down over the side, Ian lectured. Get as much as you can while it's still raining, because the hat won't hold a lot. Luke had his hands out, palms up, waiting for the downpour. It didn't come, or at least not to them. They could see it raining a quarter mile ahead of them, but they didn't get a single drop. There was genuine agony on the cabin top when the overcast thinned out and sun broke through once again. No fair, Will moaned, addressing the clouds. Come back, come back. Where's our rain? That night, Luke hung over the side, drifting in and out of uneasy world of half dreams. He really never slept in shark bait position for fear of slipping off the raft and being lost forever. Suddenly, he heard a strange gurgling noise. Sounded like drinking. Will had edged his way over forward and was now lying with his head over the side, swallowing it greedily. Aghast, Luke grabbed him by the collar and pulled his face out of the water. Don't do that, Will. It's suicide. It was so dark that all Luke could see were Will's eyes. They seemed dazed, glassy, and feverish. It's water, man. Who cares if there's salt in it? Luke shook his head angrily. That salt dehydrates you. You worse dehydrates you worse than going thirsty. You might have just cut a whole day off the time you can hold out. Maybe even more. No, it's okay, Will insisted urgently. Listen, I figured out why we never found Lissa and JJ. They've been rescued already. It doesn't make sense, Will, Luke argued. How could rescuers spot them and miss us? JJ. JJ was right all along, Will exclaimed. The captain and Radford are watching us. The others were in trouble, so they moved in and saved them. They haven't saved us yet because we're doing okay. Okay? Luke repeated. You call this okay? We're starving. We're dying of thirst. One of us has to hang in the water or we all drown. Think! A shark could bite me in two this minute, and the rescue boat would get here in time to save 3.5 people. There is no bigger trouble than what we're in right now. If there were rescuers out there, they'd be rescuing us. Will looked at him pityingly. Take it easy, Luke. Everything's under control. Don't panic. Luke stared at him in growing horror. The kid was totally serious. There was only one explanation for this. Hunger, thirst, grief, and fear were causing Will Greenfield to lose his grip on reality. How long before the same thing happened to the rest of them?